right, all right, all right. This ain't just a show. This is a platform. Veteran built, battle tested. Welcome to the MisFitNation. Yeah! Mic in a room, built from boots on the ground, now we breaking the rules. 2 vets, 1 leader, painting the sound, turn scars into sermons, let them echo around. Artists with truth, musicians with fire, actors backstage chasing something higher. Entrepreneurs bleeding just to get ahead. If you fought for your dream, yeah, you are what you said. If they told you no, if you still came back, if you fell to your knees but you stayed on track, this is your voice, this is your flame. Say it loud, remember the name. No salvation, just elevation. We rise again. From the fight to the end. We are the Misfit Nation. No damn labels, no damn cages. If you're still breathing, you belong. Turn it up. This is our song. Yeah. This is our song. Yeah. Veterans standing with ghosts in the chest. First responders running in while the world second guess. Gold star names carved deep in the soul. Your story ain't over, we carry the whole. Coaches teaching mindset, breaking the chain, turning barely alive into owning the pain. Truth over polish, scars on display. If it's real, let it bleed. That's the misfit way. If it's heavy right now, in the dark feels cold. If it's heavy right now, in the dark feels cold. If it's heavy right now, in the dark feels cold. It's stop right now. We're the more than you know. Don't walk alone. Veterans press 1, bring it home. Don't trade forever for tonight. You're still needed in this fight. We are the Misfit Nation, built from scars and dedication. We rise again. From the fire, from the fight to the end. We are the Misfit Nation. Every voice is fabrication. From the silence to the scream, we're strong. Welcome home. You belong.
Welcome back to the Misfit Nation and your Sunday after dinner edition. Because of your incredible support, we've wrapped up another amazing month filled with inspiring guests, meaningful conversations, community events, and opportunities to grow together. Whether you've been with us from the very beginning or you're joining us for the first time, thank you for believing in our mission. At the Misfit Nation, we're more than a podcast. We're a community built on loyalty, leadership, mindset, motivation, and family. Every week, we strive to bring you conversations that educate, inspire, challenge, and remind us that even life's greatest obstacles can become opportunities to serve others. Tonight's guest embodies that mission. It is my honor to welcome Dr. Pam Arnell, Executive Director of 220, a psychologist, educator, suicide prevention advocate, first responder, and an unwavering champion for veterans, military families, and those who dedicate their lives to serving others. For decades, she has worked alongside children, families, veterans, and first responders, helping them navigate trauma, overcoming adversity, and discovering hope on the other side of life's toughest battles. She has served in education, emergency services, foster care advocacy, and statewide suicide prevention initiatives, all while dedicating herself to improve lives across Tennessee and beyond. Her story is deeply personal. Following the loss of her husband, Desert Storm veteran Sergeant Benjamin Arnell, she transformed profound grief into an even greater commitment to helping others. Today, through 220, she continues that mission by providing free trauma recovery protocols for veterans, first responders, their spouses, minor children, and Gold Star families across the country. Tonight, we're going to have an honest conversation about PTSD, trauma recovery, suicide prevention, resilience, leadership, and why asking for help is one of the strongest things a person can do. If you're joining us live, we'd love to hear from you. Let us know where you're watching from in the comments, and throughout the show, drop your questions for Dr. Pam. We'll do our best to get as many of them answered as possible. And before we begin, I have one small favor to ask. If you believe in our mission, you believe our conversations are great, they matter, hit that subscribe button, like this stream, subscribe to the channel, share it to your friends and family. Let us grow so more stories like Dr. Pam's can be shared. So without further ado, let's welcome Dr. Pam Arnell to the Misfit Nation. Welcome, Pam.
Hello, how are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing well.
It's great to have you here. It took us a couple months to get you in here after we had a TMA on the show.
Yes. Tia is amazing.
A lot of nuggets about you guys on our show and how much you helped her in her journey from service to where she is now, drift racing and having a good time on the automobile circuit. And now I need to hear it from the mouth of the person who runs the show. So Pam, I gave the elevator pitch speech about you right there. If you don't mind, give us a little more about you and then a little more about 22-0 so we can not get into this conversation that most veterans need to hear.
Sure. Well, I mean, you said quite a bit of the introduction. There's a lot. I live in Tennessee and been here all my life. Have an amazing son and daughter-in-law and some great, amazing grandkids. And, I have known all of my life that I was going to serve and protect some way. I grew up in the Blue family, so my dad was in law enforcement in Rutherford County. He was a deputy. And it's funny because I actually wanted to be in law enforcement, but they had a height requirement. So now I'm not going to tell my age, but back then there was a height requirement, and I'm short. I tell it like it is. I'm short. And so that finally got lifted. But I knew that when I went into college that it was going to be serving and helping others in some way. That's just always been my mission. I serve on several national legislative committees right now. All of that happened within the last 6 weeks, 7 weeks. I got asked to be on one, and then the next thing I know, I'm on 4. So that's just a blessing. And it's on the veterans committees. So I've gone in there and, I told them, I said, don't think I'm going to come in here quiet because we need to do better for the armed forces and their families. They deserve to have that. That's what they should be getting. And it's sad that they're not getting that. And all of them on the legislative committee said, nope, that's what we need. We need someone here to really talk and advocate for our veterans. I said, well, I can do that. But in doing that and, been in the volunteer fire department since 2008. Yes, I'm an auxiliary member now, but I am still very involved. I don't respond to the calls, but I do a lot behind the scenes. We were in Nashville last night. So the American Legion does a first responder of the year. So it'd be law enforcement, firefighter of the year, EMS of the year. And one of our firefighters was actually submitted to the state level and he won. So he was presented that award last night. We were up there for that, and that was amazing. I'm very involved with the Ladies Auxiliary. I do a lot behind the scenes as well, but I'm proud to be a Ladies Auxiliary member at Post 60. I don't get to make it to all of the meetings because a lot of the time I'm working with the mission clients. A lot of people think that, they don't understand that while I'm doing the admin piece, I'm also providing direct services 24/7 to our mission clients, especially those that are in crisis.
So, just reading your bio and everything you just said, and I know you're always on socials because you're like one of our best followers. You always give us those likes, a thumbs up, and stuff on there. So I know you're there. When do you get time for Pam?
Well, I'm going to talk about my faith right now.
All right.
So I'm on a mission, and I've been on a mission for many, many, many years. So it's my reward and time for me when I'm able to be there to help our men and women that serve and protect us, be it in the armed forces or first responders. I rely on my faith. I rely on getting my strength from, my faith. And I'm not one of those who has to have time for myself all the time. I just don't. I'm probably one of the most flexible people on this earth, not body bending wise, but I am probably the most flexible person. I can be doing something and, I get a crisis call and I'm jumping into it. So looking out for myself, I can't really answer that, because as long as I am doing everything I can to make sure that our men and women are not dying by suicide, then that gives me energy and that gives me fuel to keep going. There are times that, we do family things, my son, my daughter-in-law, my grandkids, since my late husband passed away. And, we'll kind of just hang out, with the day, kind of like today. We went to church and then we went out to eat and just kind of hung out for a while. And that motivates me too. Get to be with my grandkids.
It will spoil the next generation, then send them home.
And that's exactly what I do.
That's in the grandparents' playbook there. You have to spoil them and send them home, because you wouldn't have done that to your own kids. But now it's payback time from when they were little.
That is 100% correct. I know my son will say, Mom, like, I would get in trouble for that. Why are you letting them do that? Oh, they're fine. It's okay.
They'll be okay.
He said, I got in trouble for it. Yeah, well, that's you. It's okay. I said, one day you'll have grandkids and you'll understand.
And you'll have this same separation thing I have. I can say, it's not you anymore. It's them.
Yes. Yes.
All the candy all day and then go home. Have a good day.
That's it. Yeah. Load them up on chocolate before they go.
What was the name of the fireman who got the firefighter of the year?
J.R. Garner. I finally was able to post pictures on my Facebook just like really a little while ago. We got back pretty late from the banquet in Nashville and just going to church, and I just didn't have time to do that. So posted those pictures. We had our fire chief, Shane Armstrong, and I went and met the commander adjutant from Post 60 at the event, and we met JR and his wife Kelly there.
Wow, that's outstanding. It's good to have pretty local here. I mean, I'm right at the road of Montgomery County, so it's not far. And
yes.
So it's good to have someone close get these awards and show what they're doing.
It is. Yes. And so a lot of people don't realize, so the American Legion, like at the local level, they, a lot of them do the First Responder of the Year. It was kind of funny because I got contacted 5.5 years ago from Diana, and she said, hey, I have a project for you to do. And I said, well, what is that? And it's the Glenn and Judy Newton, First Responder banquet for the Legion. Glenn and Judy Newton cover the expenses. And she said, I need you to be over the committee because they already come to you. They already know you. And it was actually at that time, I was actually the youth service officer. So I worked really close with law enforcement as well. So I knew them and knew fire. And I said, okay. And this was our 5th year. Each year we have, given a firefighter law enforcement of the year. And it's always been sent to the state level for the Legion. And this is the first time that Giles County won.
Nice. That shows your effort and your passion to help those around you. And I guess raise up the people around you to show that you appreciate everything they do. And I'm sure JR was happy to get her, and probably surprised a little bit as well.
Yes.
So now when you lost your husband after he got out of service, he was Desert Storm veteran. Was he stationed in Fort Campbell, or was he stationed somewhere else?
So he was in Fort Campbell when he went through training when he was in the Army. He and I met not too long after he got back from Germany when he was in Desert Storm, and he did Army for 8 years, and then he rolled over to the National Guard. So he was stationed for 19 years at Joint Force Headquarters in Nashville, Alseco Drive. And he was there for 19 years. So he did a total of 26 years.
Wow. All time. 19 years down at the headquarters. That might make your head spin a little bit, but I'm sure he loved it. He must have loved it to stay there that long.
Yes.
Wish he was still around so we could talk to him about all it. That's a lot of time of service, but I know you can bring his legacy up, and you've lived his legacy by serving with purpose since then, and probably during that time as well. What led you into the psychology field, and then of course to 22-0?
When I was talking earlier about law enforcement having a height requirement, like that really is true. And so I said I had to do something, and I went into the social sciences field. And then doing that, working with, different or at the different levels like case management, counseling, having my own counseling business with Dr. Cooper. Finally, I had a lot of people ask if I got my licensure, and I said, well, in Tennessee for the licensure, that's if I'm going to bill insurance. And I don't think insurance companies need to tell me what my clients need because they don't know anything about them. So I'll just do a sliding fee scale. I actually started down the track to get my licensure, and I just told Dr. Cooper, I said, it's not worth that because they expect you to give them a diagnosis in 45 minutes. To me, that's not ethical. So continued on. I've worked with, youth service officer for Nadra for many, many, many years. And then she retired, and she asked me to apply for the youth service officer position. And that's what I was doing when my fire chief asked me to take the training at 22-0. I was the youth service officer. Don't know what that equates to in, other states, but every time I would go and, surprise my grandkids for lunch at school, they'd tell those kids, be good. That's shooting. My nana's the kid police. You got to be good.
The kid police.
I said, you got to stop telling them that.
Wow. So then they're all looking around for what they're going to get in trouble for at that point.
Mm-hmm. And so, but the youth service officer, my boss was the judge and, the juvenile court judge. And I loved doing that. My job then was to make sure that the kids followed the law, but also to make sure that they were protected. And I would do everything I could to make sure they were protected. In 2021, my fire chief, he's retired now, said, hey, Big Mama, that's what they call me. Hey, Big Mama, I need you to take this training. I said, nope. Finally, to appease him, and I told him, I said, I will always say that I have a lot of respect for him. And so I did take the training. And, part of the training, you're actually going through the process. And I had 3 calls when I was with the fire department. And I had 2 calls when I was a reserve deputy for 5 years that were really problematic to the point that I went and saw my doctor and said, put me on something, I don't sleep. To be able to be in that training and, and like I said, part of that training, you're actually going through the process. I had what I call the immediate shift. The training was online, and we took a break, and I walked out, and my husband looked at me and he said, Pam, I thought you were in class. And I said, I am. We're taking a break. He said, what's in that cup? And I said, what do you mean? I said, it's Coke. He said, what else is in that Coke? He said, you look like you've had a Jack and Coke. He said, something just looks different about you. And I said, I can't explain it, but I understand there's something different. Like I feel totally different. I don't have the, triggers or anything like that. And so at that point, I finished and the training, and I just said, you guys really need to do research. They said, no, we don't. We are success-based. And I said, well, you're not going far because you've got to have the research and academia side of it. So I'm the one who started the research at Arizona State University. I reached out to different universities, and I had a meeting with the research team at Arizona, and they agreed to do the studies. And so they started asking me to come on and be the executive director. I told them no, I was good doing what I was doing, kind of behind the scenes. Eventually, I finally, and that was in like 2021, early 2022. And I finally, said, well, every time they would ask us, I got to pray about that. I just have to pray about it. And then, they asked in May of 22. And then when I said, I got to pray about that, it was almost like God just kind of said, how many confirmations do you need? And I went, okay, sorry. Then I became the executive director in November of 2022. So ever since then, we have had our first study published from Arizona State University. That was published in August of 24. And then right now we have 3 studies that are in the peer review phase. And getting ready to do research with another university in another state. We had our meeting about 3-4 months ago, and finally everything has been approved. And I sent them all the information they needed to start doing that research.
Nice. And that just builds not just you, it builds 220 as well by getting your names into the research patterns and all those publications and all those higher level studies. People look back and say, what they must be doing something right to get in these studies, and they're helping people. Let's check out and maybe send this grant money this way to 220.
The big thing, especially with agencies like the VA, the government, they want the evidence-based practices. And that's why I started the research piece, because you have to have that. And I knew that. And that's what motivated me to kind of start that. And then since then, I created the ambassador program for 220. And we have several ambassadors that are, veterans who are also in the music industry, independent music industry. And then we have in 2025 launched 220 Heroes Untold Stories. And that's where our mission clients, if they want to, they can tell their stories to these musicians, and they turn that into a song. And we started that in 2025. And in April, we just launched our Boots on the Ground in Laredo.
So you spread it. It says it's nationwide. So are you in every state, or just kind of spread throughout?
So we serve across the U.S. Everything we do is fully remote. So they remain home. Our mission clients do not go anywhere. They remain home. We don't report to the VA. And if they are a first responder, we do not report to the first responder employer. Everything's done through telehealth.
Nice. And that makes it easier for both 220 and the client, because now they're in the comfort of their home or wherever their safe space is, and they'll share everything with you at that point.
Yes. And, especially in the rural areas where you don't have the resources available like you would in the cities, having that telehealth program is very positive, but it's very much needed.
We see it, right? You see it here in Tennessee, where people don't leave the rural areas because they don't want to, and they won't go get medical help until probably it's too late, because they don't want to drive all the way to the next city or the next county to get that medical help that might be there for them, and they refuse it. But telehealth is a bridge to get them that help they need, and hopefully some of our neighbors start doing that stuff as well.
Absolutely.
So where do you see 220 in, say, 3 to 5 years?
Oh, wow. Whatever is needed for our armed forces and first responders. We have 2 other states right now. We're in the process of doing boots on the ground. I just got a phone call today with a 3rd state that we will start working on with boots on the ground as well. And so that's going to be where, especially the chaplains, if there's an incident, then they're already going to respond, so they can go ahead and start working with them once they respond to those events. So that continue growing the 22-0 Heroes Untold Stories. I feel that that's very important to be able to let them, tell that story so it could turn into a song. And how that came about, it was not me. I don't have that. You don't want to hear me sing. And so Ty, which is an Air Force vet, he and I met through a mutual friend, David. And so Ty and I connected after, and he just said, "Hey, have you thought about, letting them tell their story and turn it into a song?" And I just looked at him and I started laughing. I said, "Dude, I can't sing. I know my limitations." So he said, "Well, think about that," and I prayed about it. And I just said, "Ty, if you're willing to take that on, we'll do it." And that's what happened. So when our peer coaches say, "Hey, so-and-so wants to tell their story," then what I do is I connect them with Ty. Ty connects them with the ambassador that's in the music industry that he feels would fit with them. So he tries to make that connection so that it'd be a good fit when they're working with them. But that's going to be where I see it growing, is more boots on the ground, more in the government industry as well, especially being on the legislative committees, that has opened up some doors. And for that, I'm very grateful. But at the end of the day, it's the same thing that, if we're still here 3 to 5 years, then that means that there's still men and women who serve and protect us that have trauma, and we're still dealing with suicide. And at the end of the day, it's about them. It's not anything about me. It's, I have an amazing group. My board is amazing. My ambassadors, my peer coaches. We actually have another program that, we're going to be starting with another board soon. And they all have that passion. It's to heal our men and women who have trauma and to end suicide.
Nice. And that's the best part of that mission. It's to end something that's really an epidemic for the veteran and first responder community. And some of it, we don't hear about the first responder one in headlines. You don't hear about that much at all because they kind of compartmentalize that to themselves. But the veterans one has been out there since 2016-ish when they started with the 22, and it's much higher than that. They just count the numbers that are traditional to the traditional means of unaliving themselves. And
yes.
So those numbers are what the VA accepts as the 22, or they say 17.9 now, but it's really closer to probably 39.8 or something like that. But it just depends on which study you read, and whatever number it is, it's more than one, so it's bad. And
exactly, yes, absolutely true.
It doesn't matter whose statistics you go by. One is bad, and we got to stop it. If we can save one, like me and you talking tonight, if we reach one, teach one, and keep them with us tomorrow, it's a victory for us. If 22-0 does the same thing every day, you're saving someone there 7 days a week. And that's what it's all about. And make sure our brothers and sisters from both law enforcement, firefighters, EMS, and then, of course, the military stay with us and stay 10 toes on the ground and not 10 toes up.
Absolutely. Yes.
So you've talked to many first responders, many veterans over your long time doing this. Is there any stories, without saying names, without violating any rules or anything, any stories that stood out with you, stay with you the longest?
Mm-hmm. Oh, wow.
It's another hard one. Sorry.
You could have told me that one ahead of time. So I could have thought about it. I will tell you one, and this just happened recently. I was asked to work with a combat vet, and he had been struggling with trauma, in that fight, flight, freeze for many years. And then he wasn't sleeping, so that was an issue as well. And I was asked, if I would work with him myself, so I did. And we had our session. We worked for about 2 hours, and then the next day he sent me, a message. He said, I don't know. I don't know what's going on, but all I can tell you is I slept for the first time in years, and I feel peaceful. And when I get stories like that, we get that quite a bit, it's those stories that keeps me going. It's those stories that prove that we are here. God has us on a mission, to reach every man and woman that serve and protect us. And a lot of people don't realize too. So, when we say first responders, yes, it's firefighters, law enforcement, EMT paramedics, but we also include 911 dispatchers. A lot of nonprofits don't. And then we also include corrections. So those are mission clients as well, in addition to the Gold and Green Star families.
So you have a wide portfolio of clients, that a lot of different angles of the same, basically trauma is trauma. It just depends on what you went through and sharing that story of what they actually went through. But that's a very big portfolio of clients. And how many providers do you have on staff or within 220 that work along with you as partners or such to help across the nation with that big of portfolio?
Oh, wow. So we have actually, since it started, even before I came along, there's been 400 peer coaches trained across the U.S. As far as, and, they go in and they're working with the, some of them actually still are peer coaches, and some of them go back into their communities to work with their, veterans or active duty and first responders. But I've got, we have right now about 45 that I can reach out to and say, this is what's like in an emergency situation. This is what's going on. Can you take this person now? Yes. And then the remaining, are those that may not take them if they're in crisis, but we'll work with them because a lot of them work. I mean, they have to provide for their families. So they work with them, the mission clients in the evening and on the weekends.
Wow. So not only the portfolio is big, but the provider side, the peer side is also big. And that keeps it strong because there's a lot of people that need to find that perfect person to talk to. And I'm sure you guys see that a lot when a client calls in or a client reaches out to you, and they may not want to talk to the first person that talks to them. They might want to wait until they feel it out. Kind of like I always say, I always equate it to going to the barber or the hairstylist. It has to be the perfect person for you, or you're not going to go back.
Yeah, absolutely. That's good. That's a very good analysis. The other thing is with what we do, it's a peer program. And so anyone that's out there, just know that what we do is not that traditional talk therapy. So you're not going to talk about any of the content. I can make somebody trigger without them ever talking about the content. That protects them. That protects my coaches from getting vicarious trauma because they don't have the clinical background like I do. And then, it's done fully remote. We, like I said earlier, don't report to the VA. We don't report to your employer. And then the other piece is, I get asked every week, sometimes several days a week, what about my rating? As far as I'm concerned, keep your rating. You've earned every bit of that rating. I just want to see you healed from trauma. That's it. So knowing that it's a peer program, they connect easier. You're more apt to talk with another veteran. You're more apt to respond and build a rapport real quickly with, for me, it could be fire or law enforcement. I mean, it could be either one. But having that connection and they understand what law enforcement other officer goes or law enforcement officers go, and firefighters understand what other firefighters go through. You may not be in the same department, but they get it. kind of like veterans, they get it. And so having that peer program is so, so important.
100%. And I've seen it when other organizations started their peer programs, and they weren't really doing the training, I would say, up to par, and they were just throwing people into it. Say, oh, you want to be a peer, do this peer thing, and or maybe do this 30-minute PowerPoint online, and you'll be a peer brother or whatever. And it wasn't working at first until they realized you have to actually train these peers to do that mental health trauma kit, trauma first aid, mental health first aid, so they can not only take care of the person, or at least find the words that the person's saying and say, all right, this is what's wrong with this person's. This is where we need to point them to the right direction, and maybe know what's happening to them when they talk to them, the triggers that are happening to them.
Yes, absolutely. And it's, something else. So one of the things that I did when I came in, I believe in relationships. To me, in order to be effective, you need to have those relationships. And so what I did is they didn't have other organizations they could send them to if they need something outside of what we do. So say they had or needed marriage counseling, or say they needed, maybe they were homeless and they needed housing, or they needed help financially. I have vetted different organizations that are nonprofits across the U.S. And if I'll send my family to them, then I promise you I'm comfortable sending our mission clients to them. And so that's something that I felt that was very important, that was lacking with 22-0, is you have to have a relationship, and, know that when I reach out to that agency, or when that agency reaches out to me, that trust is already there.
Yeah. And trust is the big catalyst to keep people involved, or keep them in the conversation. Trust and the relationship is the 100% the best thing to have, in especially in that area, mental health professions or counseling, peer talking. You have to have a relationship, build that rapport, and then move into, hey, I think this is what you might need to do, or whatever at that point. And on the clinical side, you push into someone that can do that. But when you're just doing peer support, you got to have that. Hey, did you watch the game today, or did you do this with your children today? What did you do today, or anything that you can grasp onto to make them realize that you're there for them.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's very important. So, I've made sure that anything that may be needed, even substance abuse programs, say that someone has substance abuse and they need inpatient, they need detox, then I've got right now 3 locations across the U.S. that all I have to do is call and say, hey, and right then and there, we're working to get them inpatient.
Wow. That's outstanding. Press a button. Hey, it's good. It gets them in there. And that's the help a lot of our brothers and sisters need out there. And like you said earlier, they have to they have to realize they need the help, one, and then 2, build that relationship, and then know that that relationship just got them that help. It'll help them to say to someone else they know, you need to reach this number and get the help you need. It helped me, it'll help you.
Yes, absolutely.
We got some questions in the chat, but I wanted to ask you one crazy question, because you're on so many boards now. You're in the fight. You're deep in the fight. If you could sit down with every member of Congress and just have 5 minutes with them, what would you say to them that they would maybe do something differently?
Being that a lot of them have not served, that 5 minutes I would definitely bring out that they have no clue what our armed forces are going through, especially for those of you who have not served, and getting an understanding that what's been going on for years and years and years, with the VA and what they're doing, it's not working. It continues to be an issue, and to be willing to look at more holistic approaches, and, not just think about what the VA is doing or not doing, but be open to having more of the holistic programs come in and work with the VA so that we can actually get more of our veterans, healed. And here's the other thing. A lot of them are not even going to the VA to begin with.
Right.
So, and that's definitely something that I would let them know, because I don't think they really get that. So
That's 100% true. I was doing research today. I was writing an op-ed on the new the bill that's going through Congress right now for the VA for veterans. Uh, and the statistic is that 50% of veterans are not enrolled in the VA. And of those 50%, 75% of them use a different healthcare provider. So
Mhm.
they have another insurance that they use. So they don't even go to the VA on top of that. So that's a
Correct.
lot. That's a lot of our I guess our demographic that's not even using the VA at all. And that needs to
Exactly.
change if we need to keep using the VA as a catalyst to help us. They need to open arms and say, look, we're here for you, instead of trying to meticulously push people away.
Right. Yes.
That's the nice way of saying all that.
That is a very nice way of saying all that.
As you see behind me, we're building a heroes wall, patches and such. My brother asked
Oh,
if you can get firefighter Gardner to send his patch up here from his fire department so we can put it on the wall as well,
oh, yeah.
or
Um,
anyone actually. So since you have a lot more reach than just him,
okay. Yeah, I absolutely will. Yeah. If you'll, when we get done, if you'll email me where you want it to be sent to, I will get with Chief and with JR and say, hey, send them a patch. We'll
heck
do
yeah,
that.
right up on the wall next to the on air light.
Absolutely.
And that was from my brother from the Tuesday crew, Steven. So,
Oh, thank you, Steve.
and this is from Put a Ring on It. Many veterans and first responders hesitate to ask for help. What are some of the warning signs families and friends should never ignore? Thank you, Put a Ring on It.
It's a really good question. You know, it's going to be different for everyone reacts differently to different things. And so some of the common variables that I have seen over and over and over is them withdrawing. Um, a lot of the times they are, starting to use substances a lot more, or let's say they never did drink before and now they're drinking a lot. So having the alcohol, some of them are self-medicating outside of alcohol, pulling away from the family. Um, let's say they used to enjoy going places with the family, and then all of a sudden they don't want to go. They say, just go ahead, you go. Those are some of the other things to look out for as well. Then you've got some of those that, while they hold it in, you can tell that their demeanor, their affect has completely changed. And so that is something to be concerned about as well.
The withdrawing is a big one. I've seen that a
Mhm.
lot. Have you ever
Yes.
seen the opposite though? People that maybe came back and they pulled themselves away from their families, the closeness, and all of a sudden they wanted to be close right before something went bad.
Yes. Yes. So, when a lot of people don't understand, suicide is the most preventable death on this earth. There are warning signs, and I can't tell you the number of times that I've responded or been asked on the post side of someone dying by suicide. Family or friends would say there were no warnings, but just in talking with them and getting to know them and asking, key questions like, were they withdrawing? And the other thing to know is with suicide, children characteristics and adult characteristics of suicide or depression are very different. It's not the same. Typically, when you're thinking suicide, they're pulling away. They don't want to be around anyone. They kind of retreat at home, those kind of things. With the kids, they become aggressive. They get angry. They're acting out. There's a lot of, people that go, well, they must have adjustment disorder, or, they've got ADHD. Well, not everybody on this earth has ADHD. A lot of them have trauma that's not been healed. And those are things that have to be looked at. And so, it's not just the anger and the acting out. They're acting out for a reason. But that's when you see those things within, the children is, that's what I look for. when we're working with the kids, and I'll talk to the family and say, how long have they been pulled away? And then when I talk to the child, they're like, no, they said a couple of months. It's been a lot longer than that. So it was just some things to think about. But suicide is the most preventable death out there. You have to know the warning signs. You have to be willing to step up and take action. And if you don't know what to do, call 911.
911, 988, whichever one gets you to the right point, it gets the person saved. Do it. Don't be afraid to reach out to help. And
right.
It's there. It's all around you. You just got to reach out to it. The next one is from Ignore Critics. Nice name. You spent decades working in suicide prevention. What conversations do you wish every community was having that simply aren't happening today?
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I couldn't send these to you earlier.
For example, we have Tennessee Suicide Prevention Network. Each state has a suicide prevention network of some form. And while they go out and they do a lot of training and speaking and providing that information in the communities, I feel like the rural communities don't get as much. And I think that it's up to the rural community leaders to stand up and say, there is an epidemic, because believe it or not, folks, it is an epidemic. There's an epidemic and we need to do something in our county. We need to do something in our community. And a lot of the rural areas have not done that.
That is true. Very true. And a lot of it comes down to almost like the individuals that don't want to ask for help because they think it's a sign of weakness.
Mm-hmm.
Rural communities think they're so tough and hard because of what they do out there in the farms and such out there. They think they're too strong to ask for that help or show that their people need help. And it's going to hurt them more than it's going to help them.
Absolutely.
All right, another one popped in too. This is from Dennis Mark. After experiencing the loss of your husband following his military service, how has that personal journey changed your perspective on serving veterans and their families?
Oh, wow. That's going to be an easy one. So I've been part of the military family since 1999 when we got married. When he went into hospice, there were 3 events that had already been scheduled ahead of time. And I wasn't going to go. And he said, yes, you have to. And I said, no, because I knew we were we both knew we were at the end piece. And I said, I can't go. I can get someone else. Some of the peer coaches, they can go. Board members can go. He's like, nope. He said, Pam, I don't care what happens to me. We already know what's going to happen. You cannot go and not be there for them. And you've got to go so that you don't leave my brothers and sisters behind. And I just looked at him, and that put a lot on me. And I said, oh, my God. Which I did tell him. I said, you better not die while I'm gone. And I told him that each time. And he promised he wouldn't, and he didn't. But since then, it's been very important for me to keep his memory or, what he wanted as far as making sure that I do everything I can to not leave any of his brothers and sisters behind. And in doing that, that includes the families, because it's not just the veteran. You have the families to look at as well. It's a whole unit. And so during the grief period, that's kind of been one of the things that's kept me going, because I made a promise to him that I would do that. And in doing that, it's motivated me to kind of think outside of the box and find other ways that I can actually serve our men and women that I didn't do before.
Wow. Thanks for sharing that. That's an amazing story. And thank you, Dennis. I think Dennis for that question. Hopefully it didn't dig too deep, but it shows when you talked earlier about your passion for all this and your purpose, that just summed it up right there. How how that was not just a driving force, that was the next driving force. You already had the purpose in you. This just pushed it forward, I believe.
It did. Absolutely did.
Gave that little turbocharge behind you, and no, it's going to be hard to stop you now, I believe. Just stopping to you in this short period of time. Next one is from Jerry Acting. Good name again. What makes the 22-0 approach to trauma recovery unique, and why has it been successful for so many veterans and first responders? Thank you, Jerry Acting.
Thank you. That's a good question. So the process that 22-0 uses, the trauma healing, the emotional healing, it is more from the neurological linguistic programming. So you've got the NLP, the neurological linguistic programming, reconciliation of traumatic memories, and then a lot of the other types of treatments have like that talk therapy, where they're asking you to talk about the content over and over and over, but you don't talk about the content. So basically, it's a lot of guided imagery, having you in a safe place so that you don't feel threatened. That's the premise of what our process is. And with, just working with the mission clients, because it's not just veterans, but so many of them will say, I can't believe that the VA isn't using this, or I can't believe not everybody on this earth has heard of 22-0. I can't believe that, people are afraid to reach out when it's this simple. Yeah. But the big piece is that it is based off of the neurological linguistic programming, and it's not that traditional talk therapy. And technically, I've had more veterans, active servicemen and women, and first responders say they don't want to talk about it than those that do want to talk about it.
Nice. Jerry Acting, I hope that answered your question. That was a great answer, Pam. Thank you. And we'll take one more from the audience. This is from 50 Shades 9. For someone watching tonight who may be struggling silently with trauma, anxiety, or PTSD, what first step would you encourage them to take?
If someone is out there and you're struggling, know that it's okay to ask for help. You're not alone in this. I'll be the first to tell you, I don't believe that it's a disorder. It's post-traumatic stress injury, APA. There's so many that are trying to change it now to an injury because it's an injury and it can heal, but you're not broken. It's important for you to reach out so that you can start getting the healing that you deserve, not just for you, but for your family. And so my question, I'm going to kind of frame it this way. My question to everyone out there is, if you are struggling, imagine what it would look like and how do you think it would look for your family, for you to be healed, your family to be healed, and no longer struggling with trauma. Imagine what that would look like for your family. So reach out. We do have someone. So let's say there's a civilian, then we can connect you with someone that works with the civilians. So there's a means out there for you to get that healing, but definitely know that we're here for you.
Outstanding. That's a great answer. I couldn't take enough to get that whole question in there, but we'll put it in there another time. We'll put it in Facebook, put it in there later so that the question get framed in there correctly. Pam, that's great answers. You hit them all like a baseball player out there hitting home runs. So all 5 of those questions that came in from the audience, I believe it was 5, maybe 6. You hit them all out of the park. And I told you I didn't have to send you questions before. You got all the answers. It's good. And, only have, there's only 2 questions that we ask at the end of the show. And I know you know these 2. One, what's the best way to get in contact with you or 22-0 if someone wants to either get involved with the organization or get help from the organization?
So if you go to the website, it's the number 22 and then 0 spelled out. So 22zero.org. If you go through the website, you'll notice on the homepage, there's a section that says contact us. You'll fill that information out It comes directly to me. It comes directly to Tricia, which is my social worker. We don't believe in a waiting list. So just know that, a lot of people are going, you mean you're going to contact me like tomorrow? Yes. So reaching out through the website, you can also send an email to gethealed@220.org. You could also go to, or you can email me. It's Dr. Arnell @220.org. And then the 800 number that's on the website, a lot of the individuals that call in through the 800 number are in crisis, but the 800 number comes to me. So, you're not getting some bot, you're getting me. And then say I'm working with someone, or, in a meeting or whatever, just leave a message and I will call you right back once I get through working with a mission client or out of the meeting. So those are going to be the best way. Some other things that you could do is, donations. So none of our mission clients pay. None of them pay. We do not bill insurance. We do not file EAP. None of that. We strictly rely on donations and someone saying, hey, I would like to do a fundraiser for you or for the organization. And that's another way that you can get involved.
And they get on your websites, Opportunity 922, 922, is it a month, I guess?
Yes.
Okay. Mm-hmm. And just donate button right there, very easy. And then you have right below there, I think 2 sections below there, how many people you guys have healed. 11,275 plus. I'm sure that ticker's going up and you gotta keep updating, but that's a great number. It
is, and that's over the 8 years. So April 220 has been operating for 8 years now, and wow. It is definitely more than the 11,275. I've just not been able to get the information to Jess, who handles the IT stuff, so he can update it, because I've been working on research and getting that information or the research to the other university. He's going to do some studies for us.
Nice. That number is good. I'm sure the other number is a lot higher. That's outstanding. Jess will have the work cut out for him at the end of this.
Yes.
All right. And one last question. What's 3 things the Misfit Nation, our audience, can start doing tomorrow to be better people?
So I'm going to tell you what I do each day. Forgive others. Find the joy and the happiness in some moment during the day. No, certain time you may find it at lunch or morning or in the evening, but find something that, gives you joy and peace. And then the other is spend time with your family. Love your family. Be there for them, because someday they're going to be gone.
3 good ones, Misfit Nation. Forgive others, find joy, and spend time with your family, the ones you love, because you never know when it's the last time you'll be with them. So that's outstanding. Pam, thank you for sharing everything tonight. Your research, your organization, when your non-rest days and all the things you do, and with the grandbabies all the way through every day. Thank you for everything you do, and we applaud you and 220 for what you're doing for our brothers and sisters out there, and hopefully they take heed to everything we talked about tonight. I don't have to give my usual end of show speech because we've talked about it the whole show, because right now we both can nod our heads and say a day with everyone is better than one without them. So
absolutely. Yes.
Let's keep that mission alive. And Misfit Nation, stay tuned for Tuesday with the crew. They'll have EOD veteran Jeff Truex on. Until next time, be humble, stay hungry, and keep hustling. Good night, everybody.
Thanks for checking us out and being a part of the Misfit Nation show. Don't forget to visit our website at themisfitnation.com. That's themisfitnation.com. Check out all our past episodes and get some of the great Misfit Nation gear for you and your family. As always, be humble, stay hungry, and keep hustling because we are Misfit Nation. Misfit Nation.